Shalom, and welcome to a new edition here on the Genesis 49ers page, where we give you thorough breakdowns. We say no to vague interpretations. Today's topic is going to be a goodie. Happy Passover, by the way. Happy Feast of Unleavened Bread for all my brothers that is celebrating the night that we were delivered out of Egypt, that we were delivered from the Egyptians, those that oppressed us, that the Lord sent the angel, and we put the blood on our doorposts, and the angel passed over our houses and killed the Egyptians, the firstborn of the Egyptians' cattle, their servants, and basically, made them frantic, and they feared the Most High, and they allowed us to leave. All praises to all of the brothers, sisters, and the families across the world that are of Native Indian, West African, Negroid descent of Jewry. You are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of, and I'm glad that you are coming back to your customs and your culture. I am happy because the more of us that are practicing the customs and the culture that's found written in the Bible, the sooner we can regroup, create government, and be delivered. Okay? That's what the Passover is about, is deliverance. So, today's topic is the Native Indian Passover, because yes, the indigenous people of the Americas, as my previous video state, my channel is about the 10 tribes and the Native Indians. That's why I created this channel, to prove that they are the Israelites, according to scripture, according to customs, culture, writings, records, annals. We go all throughout history to prove this on my channel. Previous video was the Israelites discovered America. Here's more validity to that claim. Okay, the Native Indians did practice Passover. First slide. William Penn, the scholar of the 17th century, around 1600s. He lived mid-1600s, and he basically composed the work of his findings while he was in America, what he knew about the Native Indians. And here it is right here. It says, as to the origin of these Indians, I am ready to believe them to be of the Jewish race. I mean of the stock of the 10 tribes. I find them to be of the like countenance, and their children of so lively a resemblance that a man would think himself in Duke Place of Berry Street, Jewish quarters, in London when he seeth them. But this not all. They agree in rites, they reckon by moons, they offer the first fruits. They hold a kind of feast of tabernacles. They lay their altars upon 12 stones, and they mourn their dead for a year. And that's written by William Penn from his observation and his readings and what he encountered in the 1600s, in the mid-1600s, of the Native Indians. He came to the conclusion that these people were from the 10 tribes. Okay, so we have scholastic works proving that they are Israelites. Next slide. From the Annals of History, it says, when the Piaches, who inhabited the northern parts of South America, held their great annual festival and sacrifice, they began their prayers to their deity, Yovahu, at sunset, and kept on praying till midnight. The bones of the roasted lamb were not eaten. The bones of the roasted lamb were not eaten, and not a bone was to be broken. Source The Great Migration by J. Fitzgerald Lee, page 176. Now, I'm going to show you that these Native Indian rites correlate with the Bible. Leviticus 23:5. And the 14th day of the first month at evening means the 15th day, because days begin at even, is the Lord's Passover. So at sunset, it says, that's even, and kept on praying till midnight. So they start this festival at sunset at evening, just like the Passover. Exodus 12:46. And one house shall it be eaten, talking about the lamb. Thou shalt not carry forth out of the flesh abroad out of the house. Neither shall ye break a bone thereof. And it says right here in the quote that the bones of the roasted lamb were not eaten, and not a bone was to be broken. Same custom. Why? Because the original inhabitants of the Americas are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. This is our history. We come from the Israelites. You blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you West Africans, Igbo tribe, Yoruba tribe, you are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Next slide. We're all one nation. So we're going to give you more. I'll go my something more, right? Lasquiel describes a North American Indian religious festival in these words. It's a law that everything offered in a sacrifice should be eaten by the worshipers, and nothing must be left over. The festival is ended by the act of burning bones. The Great Migration by Jeremy Fitzgerald Lee, page 177. And he quotes Lasquiel and Tanner, okay, two historians that wrote the histories of Americas. And they witnessed that the Native Americans would keep a feast where they wouldn't leave nothing over, okay? And they ended by burning the bones. Let's see if that's biblical. Let's see if that's an Israelite rite. Because Passover is an Israelite rite. It's for the Israelites. Exodus chapter 12. And they shall eat the flesh in that night. Remember, at evening, at sunset is when it's celebrated, the beginning of a day. Roast with fire. They roasted the lamb with fire. And unleavened bread. With bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden it all with water. But roast with fire, his head with his legs and with the purtenance thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until morning. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until morning. That's exactly how the Native American Indians did it. It said it is a law that everything offered in a sacrifice should be eaten by the worshipers, and nothing must be left over. Okay? And it says, and ye shall let nothing remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. And it says that the festival is ended by the act of burning bones. We are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Just like the scriptures say, the Spirit beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. Okay? It said, the scripture says the Gentiles are a law to themselves because they do the things that by nature that is contained in the law. Those are the real Israelites being called Gentiles, okay? Like now, we're being called Native Indian, Hispanic, Negro. Those are not our original names. Our original names are the Israelites. Next slide. Sangre. It says, in ancient Peru, a great festival called Tzetsu was held annually. It was preceded by a prayer and fasting. It was celebrated at night. At night. So we already established that Passover is celebrated at night. Why? Because a day begins at sunset. It says the side posts of doors were smeared with blood dough. Then a lamb was killed, roasted, and eaten. And it was strictly enjoined that not a morsel of the flesh was to be left over. After the festival, the bones were burned. So we just read in Exodus 12 that it was commanded that they wouldn't leave anything over, and they burnt the bones. Again, the source, The Great Migration by Jeremy Fitzgerald Lee, page 177. And the source he uses is Garcilaso de la Vega, his second book. And this book is real good because he pulls a lot of sources to get his information and compile into one, The Great Migration. Now, the key point is the side posts of doors were smeared with blood dough, because we already showed you the biblical comparisons with the other Native Indian groups. Exodus chapter 12, verse 21. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover, which is the lamb. And ye shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you should go out at the door of his house until the morning. For the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians. That's what Passover is about, when the angel passed over our houses. Okay, and instead killed the ones that didn't have the blood smeared on their doors, which were the Egyptians. And when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, the Lord will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. This is the same thing the ancient Peruvians, which Peru is a Hebrew word. It comes from Peru, meaning the fruitful of God, or the fruitful God, right? That's what Peru means, right? The ancient Peruvians kept this law. It says the side posts of doors were smeared with blood dough. Where are they getting this from? Their forefathers. They descend from the 10 tribes of Israel. Okay? Facts. This is written in the annals of history. You can clearly see that they are the Israelites. They practice these laws. Right? Next slide. Abib. It says, they begin the year at the first appearance of the first new moon of the vernal equinox, and by the first name Abib, the Indians, as an explicative term, their Passover, which trading people call the green corn dance. Why? Because what does Abib mean? Ear of corn. Okay? The green-eared moon is the most beloved or sacred. What is the green-eared moon? A full moon. It's the 15th day. Why? Because on Passover landed on what? The 14th day at evening, which is the 15th day. And it says being annually offered up. This is not a coincidence. All these different tribes are keeping the Passover. Happy Passover, by the way, for all the brothers and sisters that are mindful of the Lord out there. Okay, all praises to the Father and Son. It says, source, History of the American Indians by James Adair, page 80, which is a real good book. I will be doing a series about his book and releasing different information about his book on the Native Indians on my channel. Next slide. Well, let's go over the verses to correlate with the Native Indian traditions, right? Because the scriptures say, like I quoted in Romans 8, I think the 16th verse, that our spirit beareth witness. His spirit beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. Okay, the spirit that's being referenced in that scripture, his spirit is the words that he left us. Okay, the ancient script that he left us, and it beareth witness with our spirit, our people. Why? Because our people will be keeping these laws. Okay, they will be reenacting these laws, keeping the traditions that's found written. That's how it's bearing witness that we are the children of God. Exodus 12:1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, it's supposed to be verse 2 when it says, let this month that you come out of Egypt be in the beginning of all months. Okay, which Deuteronomy 16 verse 1 says, observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover unto the Lord. Abib is Erechon. It's the first year. It's the first month of the year. Thy God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. And Abib's the first month. Okay, that's how we begin the year. And that's exactly how the Native Indian groups did it. Deuteronomy 16 verse 9. 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thee. Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn. And that's during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Okay, and that goes back to the green corn dance, the green-eared moon. Why? Because that was all harvesting time. That was all harvesting. You harvest in March. You harvest in April. Okay? And then you have the Feast of First Fruits, or Pentecost, for the 50 days. Next and final slide, Mexica, the tribe I come from. I am from the tribe of Issachar. I descend from ancient Aztecs, ancient Mexica people. Mexica is Hebrew for anointed. Okay, Aramaic for anointed. Like the Mashiach and then the Mexica and Aramaic. It says in ancient Mexico, the new year began one lunar month before the spring. One lunar month before the spring. So, source, The Great Migration by J. Fitzgerald Lee, page 78. So, in ancient Mexico, the year didn't begin January 1st. One lunar month, around March and April, like we keep it. Okay, 1 Chronicles 12 and 32, it says, and of the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of times, to know what Israel ought to do. Why? Because we let people know what? Back then, hey, here's the harvest season, here's the feast days, and we let them know when to go to war. We knew all these things. Why? Because we were astrologers. We studied the stars and moons. If you study the stars and the celestial bodies, you understood the times. That's why when you analyze the Aztecs and Mayans, they're very good at what? The Hob calendar being a very accurate calendar. Majority of scholars agree with that. They understood times. They understood that the new moon was the first crescent, the first side of the crescent, not the full moon like some people teach. Because they descend from this tribe. Aztec means the people of time, or the gathering of time, the assembly of time, right? As I broke down in my Issachar and Zebulun breakdown on my channel. Check that out as well. Okay. So you can see that these Native Indians, these Native Indian groups had the understanding, kept the traditions that are found here in the Bible. And today's topic is what? The Passover. When does the Passover happen? In our first month of Bib, which is the beginning of months for us. That's the beginning of the year. Around March, April. It's not in January the 1st like it's being taught in mainstream media, mainstream education. Okay? But what's the point of this video? The Native Indians are the Israelites. We can see through their customs. What did William Penn? He was forced to believe that they were of the 10 tribes because of all of the customs he was observing. It was undeniable. And you still, to this day, you have scoffers. But you're going to always have scoffers, man. You're always going to have scoffers. With that, I say happy Passover to all of the family, all of the Israelites across the world, the real, true Israelites, okay? Those that are so-called African Americans, Hispanics, of Negro and Indian descent, Native Indians, okay, the West African tribes, and all the tribes all over the world that descend from the true biblical Israelites. And with that, I say shalom. I pray that this was very edifying. And I pray that you guys are having a good feast week. Eat all the unleavened bread you can. Stay away from any leavening products. Celebrate and commemorate the deliverance of our forefathers. Why? Because we want the deliverance of our people now. We want it to come in this age. So let's bring up the remembrance of our deliverance of our forefathers and how our people delivered us from the Egyptians, our oppressors. Okay? Same thing will happen in the future, be it the Lord will. And with that, I'm going to conclude Genesis 49ers signing off.